Yep, they just ended their stream.
Hi, everybody. I don't know who's here, who's staying, who's going. Welcome to Wednesday, Wednesday, Wednesday.
Wednesday, Wednesday, Wednesday.
What is up? What is up, everybody?
What are our nations? There we go. It's finally flipped over.
What, us?
Yeah.
Hello, everybody.
Or it's trying to? I don't know what's going on right now.
Wait, we're not? Who can see us? Oh, PHREDD. How do you say that? Fred. 819. Yes. It's supposed to be Tuesdays, but yesterday Sarah had a thing, so that's why we're today. And next week I might have a thing on a Tuesday. So yeah, we're moving out of Monday for sure. Hey, hello, W. Scott is fun. But I can hear your feedback.
Yeah. There we go. I was trying to make sure we were actually live and like.
Oh, okay. So yeah, originally I think we're gonna do Tuesdays, but today is special. Tomorrow maybe, or next week might be special too.
It was originally Mondays because that's the day that Sarah wasn't on DTNS, so we could just flow right into this after DTNS. But now she's doing DTNS live 5 days a week, so threw a little wrench in that cycle, and then things just keep happening. And let's face it, Mondays aren't a good day for news typically,
I thought I always struggled with the Mondays anyway. So Tuesdays I think are better, but yeah. In fact, there's a note there that we haven't really told anybody that, but yeah. So welcome to us. Anyway, I think, let's see, I'm just trying to get my stuff organized. Oh, take that away.
I did not sleep very good last night.
Oh no.
It's been affecting me all day.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Okay. What is going on with everybody today? Anything cool? Anything different?
I ordered a gaming computer.
Oh, specifically. Okay, so what are you going to play on that?
Well, first off will be Civilization 7 because that comes out tomorrow.
Okay.
And
that's going to take up a lot of time.
Well, it's kind of a rough weekend because Civ 7 comes out tomorrow, and then Friday or Saturday we have NYO, which is the Native Youth Olympics, where the kids in the schools will do a bunch of specific athletics. They'll do a bunch of athletics that are specific to Alaska and Alaska's heritage. And both our littles are participating in that. So Saturday is like the actual competition.
You're like, when's my gaming time? When's my gaming time?
And then Sunday morning, Roger and I have a meeting, and then later on that afternoon is the Super Bowl. So Sunday is kind of a wash.
Oh yeah, the weekend's a wash for you, unless like in the middle of the night.
Yeah. So I have time scheduled on the family calendar Friday night and Saturday night. Like, leave me alone. This is my game time. So.
Yep. But you have to schedule it is the thing, right? You're like, I need to schedule this.
For this, otherwise. Yeah. Typically, I just I play a little. Usually, like right now, I would typically have Factorio open in one screen and just be kind of, moving stuff around, and then AVS would start, and I'd pay attention to AVS, and then like, okay, that's over. Go back to Factorio a little bit. Next thing comes up. Okay, pay attention to this, and then Factorio comes back up. But last couple of days have been so busy, I haven't even had Factorio running on the computer, let alone active. So, of course, we had a briefing this morning. Then we had a meeting with Patreon, which I will let Tom detail tomorrow in the editor's desk. So if you're a patron, you'll catch that tomorrow during the editor's desk. Got some good news coming out of Patreon.
Awesome. Okay. Let's see. Well, I finished 5 weeks of Korean class, which is it was a 5 week session. There was another 5 week session prior to that, and there's another 5 week session coming up. So,
how would you rate your fluency?
My reading fluency is pretty good. My conversation is not that good. That's part of this new round, is to have to make it easier to have basic conversation out loud. The conversation is going to be important, because there was a lot of like, well, you just gotta know the foundation, right? Because I've been taking Korean for about a year. Oh no, a little over a year. And then you learn vocab, right? There's a lot of vocabulary I have to learn. And
it's almost like it's an entire language worth of vocabulary.
I know. And then there's grammar, structure, how to make the verbs, how to make the sentences, how to make them. But that doesn't mean that you are having that clear conversation yet. And that's what this session is going to be for. Is like applying everything that you've learned, and now thinking more fluidly how to answer the questions. This last session was all about expressions. So not, we know how to conjugate, but then there's various expressions. And then again, like the next session is conversation. So
is this all for your retirement life when you and Tom both go to South Korea and teach English for a living?
Yeah. It's a good challenge. I just like having this challenge. I mean, a lot of you probably know or don't know, I watch a lot of Korean content. So, and it really, I don't know, just flexes your brain in a different way. It's nice to have something else to do and learn. So
my wife and I have thought about doing it, but the only language we both agree we would want to learn is American Sign Language.
Oh, okay. Well, that's still, that's a language.
Yeah. Yeah, so
American too, yeah. Because I was watching another Korean show, and there was sign language was prominent, and they were starting to do the alphabet, and I'm like, oh wait, their alphabet is different. So he didn't do A, B, C, D. He was doing the Korean alphabet, and I was like, oh yeah, there are other languages, and so I'm like, I know how to say. Oh no, I don't know how to say that because it's different in Korean. Anyway.
Yeah. We've kind of been waiting until my wife retired so we could start learning together. And now we're kind of waiting until she finds employment so that we can kind of work down that road. It's hard to start learning a language when you're worried about, putting food on the table in 2 months.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense.
But so we might start working on that once things calm down a little bit from all the turmoil currently happening.
Originally, with Asian languages, I started learning Mandarin on Duolingo because I was watching a lot of Chinese dramas, and then slowly, like not long after, I started watching more Korean dramas, and then it just kind of flipped, especially because music became a big deal for me. So, but we started watching Chinese dramas recently, and I was like, I still kind of understand. My reading is not so good anymore, because I used to be able to recognize the characters well, and then it's kind of weak. I'm like, oh no, I'd have to do my Duolingo sessions again. But it's amazing how it's basic, but if you do it every day, you will learn something,
Yeah. So you're obviously fluent in English, and then you're working on your Korean, and I think Tom said that you can pass with some Tagalog or whatever.
Yeah, I can definitely understand, but I never had to use it in speech, so I'd have to be assimilated, and I could probably learn it. I could probably do it quick, but because I never had to speak Tagalog, I don't speak it, and it'll be more difficult. But if I watched a television show, oh yeah, easy. I could watch any Filipino show in Tagalog. Now there's different dialects, but Tagalog is the main one. And if I watched something in Tagalog, I would 100% be able to watch that show without subtitles.
How's your Spanish?
It's not like, again, it's the listening. Is sometimes I'm like, wait, what did he say? Because it's so fast.
Yeah, Spanish is a very fast language.
Yeah, but it's okay. I mean, I took Spanish in high school and college, so I definitely have basics. I don't think I would be, too lost. If I went to a Spanish-speaking country and could only speak Spanish, I think I could make it through.
Because I took it in an academic setting, my Spanish is better reading than listening or speaking. So like if I'm looking at something, I can get the basic idea of what's going on if it's written, but I can't. I don't.
My listening is better than conversation, but
yeah. So I grew up in Southern California, so I heard it a lot.
Yeah, and you see signs. Yeah.
Right. So there's that latency back there that there's a part of my brain that still has all that stored, but it takes a while for it to come out. I took it in high school for 1 year, and then I took it in college for a semester. The high school was basically vocabulary and structure, whereas the college course was all conversational. So you went in on day one and you could only speak Spanish in class. So even if you didn't ever have Spanish before, so it was kind of a shock. But by the time I was done with that, I'd learned more from that than I ever did for the full year of,
academic,
of high school. And I wish I'd kept it up, but I was about to move to Hawaii and then get divorced and then get remarried and then life happens. Yeah. I mean, the best way to do it is to be assimilated in that, country or amongst people who speak it all the time. That's really or
the best
you could
way.
be average shitty white guy like me and not learn anything during your many years overseas in other countries.
Well, I mean, you have to try. Yeah. But I'm just saying, if you want to try, then the best thing to do is to be in those situations. But if you don't want to try, you can totally get by. I mean, the first time I went to Japan, I still don't know Japanese, but it was fine. It was easy. I could get along, around, and I was solo. I went for work. So I had work, coworkers that were with me sometimes, but there would be times where I'm like, I'm just going to go get something to eat. I'm going to leave my hotel room and go. And, it was fine. I was totally fine.
I was mostly focused both in Japan and Korea during the 6 years total I spent between the two countries. I was mostly worried about how to learn how to say food.
Because you're ordering and yeah. Totally.
Yep.
And you need to eat. So.
But the food was so good though. And I don't like seafood, so it cuts down about 2/3 of both countries.
So you just need to know the meats.
Customary foods.
Meats and the vegetables and the fruits.
Yeah, but you take me to a beef on a leaf, and I'm tearing up everything they got in that place. I love that. That was a little surprise. We didn't have one right on base, but we went about halfway through our first tour in Korea. We had a little excursion and went out to this place, this little beef on leaf place, and I was like, oh, you're going to hand me lettuce and then let me put all the toppings and vegetables and meat on it that I want and then shove it down my throat? Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, I like
and all the different ways you can prepare soju.
Yeah.
I love soju. If I stop drinking alcohol, that does not include soju. Just so we're saying, just so we're clear.
You make me want soju right now.
It's because it's amazing.
Now I'm like, oh gosh, I have to do my Duolingo for the day.
Dun dun dun.
Obviously, I won't do it right now, but let's see. Okay. Unit close. I got to do that later. Sometimes I get notifications from Duolingo on purpose because I want to do a session every day. And then when I see it at it will keep giving me throughout the day, like not annoyingly, but enough. Like the amount of times that it gives me notifications to finally do, a session if I haven't done one is appropriate for me. But when I get it at like 10 o'clock and I'm like, oh no, okay, like thank God it reminded me. I need my streak. So
my friend Kent is just crossed over 1,000 days of Japanese on Duolingo. Mm-hmm. He got a little badge. Mm-hmm. Like that's a lot.
I am 2,104 days today.
Consecutive?
But that's a mix because remember I started with Mandarin and then I did Korean, but I also tried a little bit of French in between this. So it's all the languages, right? But now over the last year, it's been consistently, Korean.
Oof. The only time I ever had a streak, I had a 65-day streak or 64-day streak in Hawaiian.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. If I was going to learn a language, that'd be the language I would learn.
Oh, that's cool. I think the key is to not get caught up in the competitions, all the leagues. If I get demoted to the very last league, I don't care as long as I'm doing this every day. I used to be in Diamond all the time. I was like obsessive to be on, the Diamond League. And then I just was like, you know what? No, it's just, I'm thankful that I can remember to do it every day. So it doesn't matter what league I'm in. But, like that's the gamification of it for some people. And for a while, that's, what got me. And then now I'm like, nah, don't worry about that. Just do the session. do your 5 minutes and go, if I want to go longer, great. If I don't, sometimes I'm like, there was one time when Mandarin was getting really hard and I was like, I just need to get points today. I just need it. And I'm like, I don't want to do Mandarin. So I picked up Spanish because it's so easy for me. I did like level 1 Spanish for the day. I'm like, easy. And but they added other things like music and what was the other thing they added? Music. I tried that. There's so many different courses now. Oh, there's math also. Math in your language and music. And the music is kind of like, music is like learning the notes, right? Which I know how to read music. So that one, if there's ever a day where I'm like, I just can't do Korean right now because I'm leveling up, right? It's getting harder and harder. And it takes me longer to finish, one session. I'm like, let me just do the music. I don't default to Spanish anymore. I go to music. So dun, dun, there's a big piano. Dun, dun, dun. Like, oh my God, easy.
I can read and interpret drum sheet music.
Okay.
I taught myself that.
I don't know how to read drums. I can only read piano.
About a year and a half ago, I taught myself how to do that because I was really into practicing. And then last night I had to tear down my drum set to make room for a kid's bedroom. And it kind of sat in limbo for 6 or 8 months. And then my kids made me put it together when we set up our basement for gaming and karaoke and stuff like that. But it wasn't quite set up to my liking. And last night I had about 2 hours where no one was in the house. And it's electronic drum set, but I like to listen to it with this, with my amp on. So I'm not listening to headphones. And what I did was I sat there for about 45 minutes just tinkering with it to get it to fit my play style. And then for the next hour, I just thrashed some Metallica and some Guns N' Roses. And like, it felt so good to finally just drum, just bang on things and do it to the beat of music. And it was great.
How long did you have the house to yourself to be able to do that?
I had about 2 hours. My wife left to go pick up my niece and take her to gymnastics practice. And she took the 12-year-old with her to go to a friend's house, and my daughter, Madison, hadn't come home from work yet. So I had about an hour before she came home from work, but once she came home, she messed around her room for a bit and then took a shower. So she wasn't even like around, she was on another floor for most of the time. And then I finished up and went upstairs right about the time that my wife and the littles were getting home. And then we started prepping for dinner, and then we just carried on. But yeah, it was nice. So I had about 2 hours, and I spent 45 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes repositioning the drums and things like that and tuning it a little bit. And then in about an hour, just thrashing thugh the playlist. It was great.
I don't. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi. I don't know if you guys watched any of the Fire Aid show on Netflix.
A little bit. Yeah.
I
only
watched
watched
the whole thing, not all
Okay.
in one fell swoop because it was like 5 hours long. But
Yeah.
but a lot of good performances and just you talking about drums, Amos. Travis Barker, and why am I forgetting his name now? Dave Grohl, among others. But you watch those people and you're like, God, what good exercise that is. I should be a drummer.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's anything better than that. I mean, talk about just like getting it out.
Limbs. Yeah, you're using all 4 limbs, and you're having to control how much intensity you have, how much speed, and everything else. It's a really good workout. I used to use it as my cardio workout because I hate jogging so much.
Yeah. Well, you're not
I
the
don't
only
like jogging.
one. I love jogging, but I
Dave
get
Grohl.
that people are like, "What? You just run?"
Well, I mean, if you're outdoors, you could see things. If my knees weren't like not strong, then I would
Mush.
I would do it. I would run, but I do Peloton instead because
If I ran,
a little bit
if I
more
actually
fluid.
jogged a mile on like a street right now, I'm more likely to end up in the hospital than I am at my house at the end of it. Because both my knees are just crap. So I'm going to need someone to come get me.
Well, yeah. I mean, knees, ankles, hips. I mean, there are all sorts of reasons why jogging/running is just not the exercise for you. I'm lucky enough that I don't have issues with those yet. I like a good jog. It used to be that I had to listen to like not just any music, but a certain kind of music. Because then I'm just like, I am robot. I just run to music and I just kind of like zone out, which is why I like treadmills because then I'm like, I don't even have to worry about traffic or, I'm just literally like, I'm zoning out and running in place. Then, and people saying like, oh, I listen to podcasts. I'm like, oh gosh, I could never run like that. Now I'm like, I don't even want to listen to music. I just want to listen to someone's story and then I'll just run.
I found that Eddie Rabbitt's I Love a Rainy Night will get you a mile and a half done pretty quick.
Really?
It's just the right pace for my height. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant like the song. I'm like, that's a quick mile and a half you're running.
No, you have to listen to it a couple times, but it keeps you on a nice pace to get a mile and a half done. Because that's what we had to run in the Air Force was a mile and a half. So I put that on and it would get me just to the point we're passing.
Yeah. I mean, I think anything over, well, it depends on your fitness goals. But I consider anything over a mile as far, besides just kind of like I'm walking to the grocery store, I'm walking back to my car, I'm casually, vacuuming or walking the dog. It's like anything above that that's a mile plus, I feel like, you know what? I put some effort in. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
BioCow says he used to bike a lot, 20 to 60 miles at a time, and Salt and Peppa's Push It was his uphill jam.
Push it.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's good.
That's a good
That's
one.
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great song. Yeah, a good song to jog to. I've done that more than once. I mean, 20, 60 miles at a time. I mean, I know on a bike it goes quicker, but that's a
a
lot.
lot.
Workout. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
like
really impressive.
My
I dare him to
15
do that now because I've been to BioCow's house and he lives out in the backwoods of Seattle. It would probably take him about 10 miles of going uphill and downhill on the different trails just to get out of the little hilly area. So,
I mean, I'm kind of a wuss when it comes to biking. I don't know why. I used to be fine when I was a kid, but as I've gotten older, I'm just like, I need a helmet and I'm scared. But on a stationary bike, I can do that all day. But even then, I'm like, 10 miles is a lot. So 20 to 60 miles is like,
that's a lot because
you're putting in some work.
When I do Peloton, it's like it's either 15, 20 or 30 minutes. And it's like at best, maybe 10 miles,
Yeah.
And like, it's usually,
that's
I'm
me
happy,
being like, I'm sweating.
Happy, yeah.
This is hard.
I'm happy that I get to 8, right? Because, there's moments you're not going full force the whole time. Sometimes you're just doing a light, you take a break. So you're not going as fast, but like 5. And when I get to 5 miles, I'm happy. Like, I did 5 miles.
We used to have
5 miles for anything. I'm like, good. Ryan in Minneapolis is asking, there's nothing wrong with wearing a helmet. I agree. You're supposed to. But I just remember as a kid, it was like, we would just like,
right around the block.
I also grew up in the country, so, a little bit different than everybody else. It's like, there's no sidewalks. Like cars are like going around us honking, like, get out of the road, kids. And we were like, and we didn't care. And now I'm like, I would never do that. I'm a scaredy cat now on a bike. Cause I'm like,
it scares me.
It only takes one collision, just the one. And I'll be sorry I got back on this
It's true.
bike.
No,
I
it's
think
totally
your
true.
camera is herky jerky.
It's a little
I know,
herky jerky,
it's
although it
happening.
looks really
Yeah, I
good.
don't
Otherwise,
Now, is it
my
still?
camera looks
Is it
so
still like?
funky.
I feel like it
No,
stopped.
it came back now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was our connection. Righty. Let's.
Well,
I only
you
wear,
know what?
I only wear a
I
helmet on my
think-
bike now because I have to be the good example for my kids.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
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 That's the only reason I wear it now.
I was talking about this with a friend. We were talking about just sort of like, things that used to be pretty normalized for kids now that like you don't do that anymore. For example, riding on a bike without a helmet, riding in a car without a seatbelt, riding in the back of a pickup truck where you just hold on. I used to do all three. And like, it wasn't because my parents were like, let's see if you survive, Sarah. It was just like, that's what people did. At least, in certain parts of the world.
Yeah.
Now it's like, can you imagine somebody on the freeway with a kid in the back of a pickup truck? That's not cool.
But
But
not
at the
just a
time,
kid, but like
my
a-
parents
a
were just
bir-
like, hold on, we'll be
Like
there
a
soon.
birthday party of kids in the back of the pickup on the way to the bowling alley for a birthday party. Just like 8 kids just piled in the back of a pickup going 65
Yeah,
down
it's like,
I-5.
how are you going to get to the roller rink otherwise?
Yeah.
Get in the back of the truck and hold on.
If you can't hold on to the bed, hold on to the kid, hold on to the bed. That's
Hold on to something, yeah, and try to stay low just in case.
And don't mind the dog. The dog will handle itself. It'll just be back there roaming around.
Totally, there's always a dog. There's always a dog.
Always.
Oh man.
Always.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well,
all right. Well, I
so,
should get out of here so you guys can do a show and we can actually get on with the day. So what do you
All
think
right.
about that?
Do it.
Sounds good.
All right, let me,
right. All right, Eileen, if you're ready, I'll go ahead and count us in.
I am ready. Let's
All
do
right,
this.
ready for action. I will count us in. In at 3, 2. Hey everybody, welcome back to Apple Vision Show, episode 47. This is the show where we talk about all things Apple. What's new, what's interesting, what we want, what we wish we had, and everything in between. I'm Sarah Lane, and I'm joined by Eileen Rivera. Eileen, how's it going?
I am thumbs upping our episode today because it's been a year. It's been a year. Happy
I was
year
like,
anniversary.
it's been a year? Yes, it's been a year since we launched the show. Right, yeah.
Happy birthday to us.
Happy
It was a
birthday to
different-
us. Yeah, well, when you think about episode 47, right? It's like 52 weeks, minus a couple weeks, for holidays or, just sort of general stuff over the last year. But we are 1 year in.
I know.
Feels like
it
just
was
yesterday, to be honest.
right. But feels like, that was another world too. Remember when we were just getting figuring out the show, but
Vision
also
Pro.
the Vision Pro.
Yeah.
And, kind of anticipating, all the releases for the year and things like that. It feels like a different world.
Well, it's funny because the Vision Pro was kind of the impetus of the show, even though the show was not supposed to be about the Vision Pro specifically, but we were like, hey, this is a big announcement from Apple. After years of rumors that this is going to happen, it happened. We have one. Maybe we do an Apple focus show that's under the, Daily Tech News Show umbrella of, of shows. And that worked out well for us because, of course, there's lots of Apple stuff to talk about every week. But yeah, it was a very different situation a year ago because I was thinking that as a VR enthusiast that the Vision Pro was going to really change the game. Not saying it hasn't. If you're in development, you have probably a very different idea of, what it has done and what it will do, for your line of work. For the average consumer, I think Apple kind of, had to eat its lunch a little bit. There were a lot of folks who were just like, it's too expensive and I don't know why I need it.
Well, they rocked the boat to have the conversation going. But then when you look at the long term, it's like, who's going to buy it? So we've been talking about for weeks the next version, if there is another version, a lighter version, a more eyeglass version. So we have yet to see. And at the same time, the competitors are coming to the market. We talked about the Android version coming out, or, at least in beta. And then, obviously the Quest and Meta. So I think, the conversation of the devices itself is still going, but where Apple is, I feel like everybody's kind of felt like stalled, until we see the next iteration. There's just a ton of people that don't get it still, right? And I maybe it's just, Apple's like, it's not time for everybody else, but otherwise, I am
an Apple fangirl. I'm not gonna say otherwise. I mean, why would I be doing the show otherwise? But I really do think, and this is a long bet on my part. I really do think that Meta's Quest, which previously Oculus Quest, will stand. As we look, at one point, AR and VR is going to be just a part of our lives. I don't know exactly, what day that happens and how it's going to happen, but we're getting there. We have too many companies who care about this too much. It's going to happen. And somebody's going to make that killer app that people all around say like, oh, I have to have that. The way that, somebody had to have a smartphone back in the day. And so we're still kind of on the prefaces of that. But I do think that Apple's Vision Pro, again, version 1, because that's all we've got, it was expensive. That was its downfall. But it was also, and is, I'm talking about it like it doesn't exist anymore, it is impressive. It really is. You've got the complaints of like, oh, it's heavy on your face. Well, you know what? That's what VR headsets do to people. That Apple didn't like invent it's heavy on my face, so I don't want to buy this expensive one. That's just a thing that I think it was easier to complain about when something is so prohibitively expensive.
Yeah. I mean, nothing's perfect out the gate. There's always going to be changes, and it's the first gen. So, I'm thinking back to the first iPhone. I wouldn't use that today. Oh
my gosh,
we've got.
I don't have my first iPhone anymore, but I was at someone's house. It wasn't even that recently, but like I don't know, within the last year, and I was like, "What version of iPhone is that?" Like it looks like a little baby phone, like something that like a toddler would hold. I'm like, no way, that was how small it was. And they were like, this is the original iPhone. And I'm like, how did we even do that? But at the time, it was so revolutionary. And now I'm like, how did we even see apps?
Right. The apps were so limiting, I think, back then. And it was just mostly text and pictures and things like now we need it to do more, right? So having that smaller screen for a lot of us doesn't work anymore. And the basic features of the iPhone originally, it's got to be faster, it's got to be stronger, and that's what we have today.
Shout out to everybody who liked that iPhone mini that I don't think we're gonna get. We're not gonna get another version of that for some time because not enough of you bought it, but I know some of you cared very much and liked that smaller form factor. But that's also, we're not talking about like iOS V1.
Right.
I don't even know if that's what they called it. Maybe it was just iOS. But yeah, that is man, I don't know. I looked at that phone and I was just like, I can't believe we all held these because they seemed so big at the time because they were so cool. It's like, it's not a flip phone. look, it's all on this glass screen. Ooh, very exciting. App Store. That was all. That was I don't know. I guess for me it was 2000. When did I get my first iPhone? 2007.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when it was.
Yeah. Same. I feel like I've had every iPhone except for somewhere like maybe 2 versions in the middle somewhere there. Because I was dedicated to using Android around that time. I was working at Google, and this, I was like, okay, this is just
well,
easier.
and we talk about even the the iPhone 16. I didn't buy it. I've got the 15 Pro Max. It's great. It's. I was about to say it's less than a year old. It's just more than a year old, but just barely.
Yeah.
At this point for me, and it's like it's great. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't need to get, the new phone just because. And that's saying a lot because I used to feel like, a new anything Apple product was like something, have to have it because I have to talk about it. And
well, here we are in
Here
2025.
Happy 1 year, everybody.
Happy 1 year.
Yeah. It's been a fun ride. I think a lot of interesting stuff is gonna be introduced by Apple this year, and rival companies as well. I think Apple has. I mean, they just had like a huge banner quarter where they smashed records again, but losing a fair amount of market share in China. That is, obviously. A few years ago, it was all about like getting the market share in China. So losing market share in China is something that Apple cares about very much, even if they make money in other places. And yeah, just kind of like what are we doing? What's next? I think the Vision Pro and iterations of the Vision Pro are a really good idea for Apple. I cannot see the company abandoning the project altogether. I just, there's no way. I mean, if I'm wrong, may the Lord strike me down. But I just don't, think that Apple is going to, is going to bail out of that because the company's been doing this in some, cool basement lab for, quite a few years.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are going to be other focuses too. Like we keep talking about home. There could be more home products introduced to us. So, don't expect that the Vision Pro is going to go away. It's just going to be version 2 at some point.
Indeed.
Maybe not this year, but maybe 2026. We'll see.
Well, something we do know for sure is that Apple introduced a new app called Invites. So if you're an iCloud Plus user, which means you have to spend 99 cents per month or more for iCloud storage, but iCloud Plus user, you can use it to plan events. So, for example, you're throwing a birthday party for somebody. Somebody's graduating. Maybe you're gonna go on vacation, and a bunch of people are going to descend on a hotel together. Somebody's having a baby shower. Event stuff. I find this interesting, Eileen, because the app, which I have access to because I do pay for iCloud Plus. I pay $2.99 per month, so I think I get 200 gigabytes. That's my plan. Which I'm actually almost maxing out on. I'll have to think about that after the show. Reminder to clean out your iCloud account every now and then with stuff that you don't need. But the idea is that you've got iPhone photos, stuff that you've saved to iCloud, Apple Music that you've listened to, and a variety of Apple Intelligence kind of features that you can do to make this event kind of look cool to the folks that you share it with. Now, you might be saying, well, what if I don't have an iPhone or pay for iCloud Plus? As a recipient of, the baby shower that I'm throwing for so-and-so, I can invite Eileen, who might be on an Android phone, no problem. It's just that she can't actually build something like this using Invites because it's iOS only. It's cool, Eileen. It actually kind of got me thinking about how the whole kind of like, how do we invite people to things? We have had so many different platforms to do that. The latest that I've seen is Partiful. And that came out of nowhere. I don't know if you've been invited on Partiful to anything recently.
I don't know. I think usually it's just, no, I don't think so.
So Partiful is, it's, and I don't really know why it became trendy, but it's like Evite. And it's like, I don't know. There's like a handful of others that just sort of become popular where someone's like, oh, I like the one that I got from you, so I'm going to use that for my event, and so you get used to that stuff. And they've gotten better over time. I mean, it's like now when you get an invite, it's like RSVP, yes or no. Send a message to the host, add this to your calendar. You want Google Calendar? You want iCal? What do you want? They've become a very easy way to integrate this into your schedule based on whether you're going to go to an event or not going to go to an event. But I think what Apple's doing is saying, all right, well, we know a lot about you, the person that is throwing the event. And so it kind of becomes something beyond like, call it something cool and then like throw up one image, right? Instead of being like, it's Sarah's birthday with me like smiling, it's, maybe a slideshow of all my birthdays past because Apple knows my birthday, that kind of thing. Or, maybe like some like fun Genmoji stuff that, people will chuckle at. I don't know. Not throwing an event anytime soon. So I'm like, I'll use it eventually. I mean, I played around a little bit with it, just kind of doing some dummy invites. But what do you think, Eileen? Is this something you would use?
It has a really nice UI, honestly. I like it. I think the biggest issue with me and this is the way you have to get it into, because I use Google Calendar. We'll talk about this later. I have a question about like what are the apps, the native apps that you use on your iPhone. But for me, I have not switched to iCal. I am still on Google Calendar. And so you have to kind of like, when you create an event, and I created one, right? So Tom and I are going to see Jenny Kim from Blackpink. So I'm like, okay, so I put her picture, her album, picture there. And then I put, all the details on it. It looks really nice. And it just looks very sleek and very pleasing, to get this invitation. But I noticed that it only goes on iCal. So I had to go on iCal and then change the calendar it's on manually to get it to Google, which that's fine. It's just extra steps. I wish I had that option that you could choose the calendar just like you do when you create a calendar on iCal so that it could sync automatically to your other calendars, and vice versa. The same thing too. Everything that I make on Google Calendar goes to iCal. I just want both of them to talk to each other. So I wish that was automatically built in, or a feature, like a little thing that you could do here. But I mean, I don't know if I'm going to use it a lot. I'm going to try using it for, maybe I'll put like my invitation to my own vacation or whatever on here, or like, I know, but picking up 7 from his training in a couple weeks. Maybe I'll create one and see like how that goes. But I need to create something with multiple people. It's just me and Tom at this point. So
one of the
nice.
One of the aspects that I like about it is that if you are in the Apple ecosystem, you can create a shared playlist for the event, so you can add music to it before the event. So when you get time to the event, you got a playlist of everybody's choices of music.
Yes, that's a really good point.
And it creates a shared photo album so people can add photos. And when you're at the event, you can just add photos to it, and everybody that was invited has access to those photos.
Which is, I think, what Apple's trying to do is cut down on that whole. We've all been there. That whole like, hey, the 30 people who came to my birthday party, thank you so much. Can everyone like send me photos?
Yeah.
I saw everyone taking photos. Like, can we put them somewhere? And then it just becomes like sort of a mess.
And
right?
if you've ever planned a party,
even if you try to put them in one repository, it's sort of after the fact, and this is getting ahead of it.
Yeah, and I mean, because this you can just share immediately to it. You can have it say share all these to my to that event. And if you try to schedule an event with people and it's a party and you try to figure out the music and trying to figure out what musical tastes everyone has is a complete hassle. So Apple's taken that part and made it simple too, because you just add music that you like. And then when you get there, you can just hit play and it'll just shuffle through all the songs.
Yeah, I mean, this could be used for a wedding. That would be great.
Yeah.
Instead of people being like,
bride,
"Hey DJ, do you have this song?" It's like, no, we already have a playlist. Everyone has weighed in. This is what we're playing tonight.
As the father of a bride this summer, I've already talked to my daughter about using these features because almost everybody she's inviting are iPhone users anyway. So,
wow, gosh,
yeah,
father
this
the
came
bride.
at a good time for me.
Oh, okay. So you can't just add a song. You have to add a playlist. So I was just trying to add Jenny Kim's songs.
Yeah.
So you have to make a playlist on Apple Music and then add that playlist and then let everybody. Okay. All right. So I was just looking for the song and I'm like, okay, you can't do that. All right. It's still, it's a little extra work I don't like, but but that's just I have me for a different purpose. So
it's just like if you want to add a photo album to it, you can't just add a photos. You need to add an album, and then people can add to that album. The playlist is the same way. You have to create the playlist or select the playlist, and then people can add to that. Because
they're trying to put it in a central place.
Yeah, I'm not asking anybody to add to my playlist because sometimes that goes wrong. So that's being a little selfish about the playlist. Photos great, but do not mess with my playlist.
You're partying with the wrong people.
Do not mess with my playlist.
Eileen
do not add the wrong songs to this playlist because that happens.
Oh my gosh. The last playlist I made on Apple Music it wasn't a collaborative thing, but when No Direction Home, is that no, wait. That's the old Bob Dylan movie. What's the new one with Chalamet? What am I thinking of? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The Bob Dylan movie. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm getting my
complete unknown. It's called A Complete Unknown.
Yes, thank you. Mm-hmm. But I was talking about this with a friend and they were like, "Yeah, I mean, I know Bob Dylan kind of." And I'm like, well, I grew up with a lot of Bob Dylan songs, whether I liked it or not, because my parents were really big fans. Mm-hmm. And they were like, yeah, can you make make me a playlist? Just like something that is like, do you have, I don't know, 10 Bob Dylan songs that you really care about? And I'm like, can do. And so I made one, but then I made it like a collaborative thing for a couple of other folks who were kind of interested in the conversation. And I was like, don't like that song.
Exactly. Music is one thing. Photos, it's like, yeah, let's all share photos of great, hopefully you don't share something that, we look weird. But music is a little more personal in the
especially when it's like
taste,
a curation thing.
Yes.
Right? Where I'm like, that, I don't want that associated with me.
Exactly.
Not that it's like that bad of a song, but like also, I did not choose it.
I don't want it in my algorithm and then it thinks I like that and is going to add more same type songs. That's
a good point as well. It's like, even if, it's like, we all know this. You look up some weird brand that you're never going to buy anything from, and then it haunts you for the rest of your life.
Yes.
And it's just like, why? You should have known that I didn't want to buy any of these things because I did not. And stop telling me to buy this jean jacket that I already bought 3 years ago.
Yeah, I have to go to incognito sometimes and just look at stuff because I just don't want it in my algorithm or go in private mode or whatever you have to do to just make sure that doesn't,
Isn't that funny? I will have friends who, and this is not like a Safari browser specific thing, this is just internet in general, but I will have friends where I'll send them something and they're like, not clicking on that because that, that's going to haunt me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's I'm like, what are you afraid of? And they're like, nah, it's not so much that I'm afraid of someone looking at my history. It's just, it's going to change things for me on the internet. I'm not clicking on that link.
Exactly.
So that's funny as you thought it was.
That's why I'm glad we talked about it. That's why I'm more protective of the music situation here. So, anyway, I will try adding that and do that, and that'll be fun.
Well,
but I like it overall.
Speaking of music, Eileen, it was a big week for music. But I mentioned Fire Aid for anybody who's familiar with the LA fire devastation. Really, really cool, long stream from multi locations about raising money for not only folks who have been displaced and devastated, but first responders. It was really cool. But we also had the Grammys on Sunday, which was very LA centric as well. I mean, obviously it's Hollywood, so that's on brand. But I found it all very touching. There a lot of folks and speeches were dialed into that, and I may have shed a tear here and there. But yeah, Kendrick Lamar walking away with everything he was nominated for.
Absolutely.
And this weekend doing the Super Bowl halftime show, which
I'm looking forward to it.
Same. I mean, first of all, I'm a big Kendrick fan. Like he's like my favorite. So, this is I'm almost like excited to the point that I'm scared, because I'm like, I just don't want anything to go wrong. I want everyone to have a really good time.
Yeah, you want him to kill it. You want him to kill it. Make it known. Yeah.
At the same time, a lot of the content is NSFW.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, all right, how are we
bleep.
gonna do this? I'm sure they've thought, frontwards, backwards, and sideways about, how this works, and it'll be great. But I'm like, you can't really play a lot of the stuff. I mean, unless there's like full on rewriting of lyrics or bleeping or a combination of both. But I'm excited.
Yeah, I think he's going to do an amazing job. I think this is, it's sponsored again by Apple. So it's the Apple Super Bowl halftime, which is why we're talking about it. Not just because we love Kendrick Lamar, but I think, that's funny that you say that. I didn't even think about the whole, the language, because you don't want it to be just consistently bleep, bleep, bleep,
Well, okay. So, and I had mentioned this on, I think it was like a DTNS live show the other day, but I was like, so Not Like Us, which was his big hit of 2024.
The diss track.
The diss track that won all the awards. Beloved song. I mean, if you don't like the song, you don't like the song, but it was a big hit. That song is again rated R. And that's being kind. And it's just sort of like, I don't know how you do that in any capacity. Even, how in a Super Bowl show, it'll be a medley of songs. So it's like Beyonce gets up there, and she's not going to do like Crazy Right Now from beginning to end.
No,
she's going to do it for like 30 seconds, and then she's going to transition to like one of her other big hits, because, it's the halftime show, and, everyone's like, yay, so many fun songs. So you could do that, but I'm like, even then, how do you, I don't know. We'll find out.
We'll find out.
We'll find out. Either that, or a lot of kids are going to be like wearing headphones like, I'm not supposed to listen to this.
Well, just like last year, Apple has a lot of like extras, right? So you can go on Apple Music, you could see the halftime show trailer right now. And then there's just going to be like, if you use Shazam while you watch the show, you'll be able to save the actual concert, the show, and then be able to make a set list from that. And Apple Maps, if you're going to the Super Bowl, will give you some really cool like overview sweeping images. I mean, you can look at it right now. They did the same last year, so they're going all out like they normally do. And there's actually like a fitness, artist spotlight for Kendrick Lamar this week.
There is,
Apple,
Fitness Plus. Fitness. Is giving you some exercises that you just you go hard for your artist, which I love. I mean, I think that's the most motivating thing. We were talking before we started the show about jogging, and we're exercising or biking, whatever it is. It's like, you give me like 60 minutes of something I really love, and I will just run.
You will do it. Yeah.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
But if I don't love it, I'm like, it's not working for my brain. I hate it. I'm huffing and puffing.
I know, same.
It's so different.
Same. It's like when I used to go to, cycle classes, and I didn't know what the playlist was, and the teacher started playing like music I hated. I was just dying in that class. Like I needed to get out. So
oh my gosh, I've been there so many times.
Oh, it's the worst. That's why I love what I do now with the Peloton, because I can see the playlist and I'm like, okay, I'm 90% like it. I can survive this one song. Let's go. But if it's like, oh yeah, no, I don't like this at all. So I don't like her playlist. Next, move on, because the music is really important, I think, for working out. So
oh my gosh, it's the headspace. I feel the exact same way when I'm using Supernatural, which is a MetaQuest app, but it's like, and I know, like I have things to choose from. I know exactly what I'm about to listen to before I do. And sometimes I'll go back to a playlist where I'm like, I just want that one again. I like that one.
100%.
It's like, these are like my 5 favorite songs. Let's do it again. And then there are other times where I'm like, I'm not really in the mood for death metal right now, but why not try? And sometimes halfway through, I'm just like, nah, it's not working. And sometimes I'm like, this was fun. Yeah. It kind of made me move in a way that, I didn't think I wanted to.
Yeah.
So you never know. You never know. It's mood based. It's very mood based.
Exactly. Well, one last thing about what Apple's doing. If you don't have Apple Music, you can try Apple Music for 6 months at $2.99 a month. Now, there's so many services that you've probably already bundled to get it, but if you just somehow you don't have anything and you want to try Apple Music and see all these new things.
Yeah, $3 rather than the 10. That's a great deal. If you're not, if you're not already a subscriber. I'm sure I've mentioned this. I am a Verizon mobile subscriber, and Apple Music is bundled into my monthly bill. It's not exactly free, but it's part of what I pay for, so I don't pay for it separately. And so I haven't really thought about that in a while. But we have talked in the past about how Apple One might be a good option. If you want Apple TV Plus. Apple Music, Apple Arcade, what's the other one? Apple Fitness. And, that's something to look into if that bundle, especially if you're going to bundle into a family account, that could work for you as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you don't, Spotify users everywhere, listen to us. Try Apple Music for $3 a month for 6 months. Come back and then tell us why Spotify is better. Because I have lots of friends who are like, Spotify is better, and I'm like, they're the same product.
They really are the same product. I mean, I think I use Spotify more because I just started with that before Apple Music. So
yeah,
but if I look at Apple Music,
like it's more familiar to you.
It just knows me more. But it is pretty similar. I mean, with the exception of the spatial audio stuff, which I'm still not about. But for Apple Music, I think that it's all about how much time you spend with it, and you can make Apple Music the way Spotify is for you, and just teach the algorithm. But people like what they like, and I'm using both, and I'm heavily more Spotify versus Apple Music. But I think both of them are really good. Now there's some things like podcasts and that are only Apple centric that I do listen to on Apple Music that I like, that you wouldn't get on Spotify. But same on that side too. So yeah, it's I don't think it's an either or, but I understand if people think that because they want to like support their team.
I mean, I think it's either or in the sense that I'm like, Eileen, you're kind of an outlier because I think most people are like, well, I'm not paying for both of these things. I'm just going to choose one and stick with it. And I went with Apple Music, and I don't even really remember why. I don't know. At some point, Spotify is very different now, but back in the olden days of the early days of Spotify, I was like, black and green, I don't like it. And that was like honestly as much as I thought about it. It was a very silly reason where I was just like, let's go with Apple Music. I also just am an Apple ecosystem person. Not everyone feels comfortable doing that. Yeah. If you want to diversify and kind of jump in and out of the Apple verse, that is you aren't alone. I don't really care. At this point, I'm like, I've got a Dropbox account. I pay for Google Cloud storage. It's not as if Apple is the only company that's running my life, But when you kind of lean into it and you're okay with it, because you know that is a personal decision, it just works really well. I find that it, you know, syncing between things, because I'm using the computer I'm on now, my laptop in the other room, you know, iPhone on the go, and you know, every so often, like a friend's computer, if something weird comes up, it's like the Apple ecosystem is pretty great, but you have to commit. And if you want to use a variety of systems, and we're not even talking about music at this point, just kind of
whatever,
just data in general. It you know, the more you do, the more you have to commit to knowing that not everything is gonna sync just right. And if you like to tinker, then maybe you don't care about that. But a lot of people do, which is why when friends of mine ask me questions like, "Why isn't this working?" I'm like, okay, so where is your file? your file's locally on your computer. Okay, so you're not sharing that with anybody. So why, like, you have to send that file to them.
Yeah. Exactly. Like,
not that you don't have to do that with Apple, but you know, it's the cross we bear when we're tech support people with less technical family members sometimes.
Oh, you know, just live and learn, right?
So it goes.
What you
so it
like, you
goes.
like.
Well, so Apple Intelligence, I think the jury's out. The jury's kind of out on, you know, how important is this? How much has this changed our lives? I will say that besides kind of the stuff that you and I have talked about, Eileen, thus far, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I turned off summaries for everything.
Yeah.
First of all, I turned them on for everything, which probably was a mistake, because I was like, immediately hate these for messages, hate these for emails, hate this for you know, just kind of everything that Apple would send me just does not work for me. If it works for you, great. But that was part of the promise of Apple Intelligence, is like, oh, we're gonna, you know, help you get your life together better. Well, many of you were like, well, it doesn't really apply to me because Apple Intelligence wasn't available in my language. So it is expanding.
Yes.
Soon, the company says, will be available in French, German, Italian, Portuguese, Spanish, Japanese, Korean, and simplified Chinese, along with localized English versions for India and Singapore, where English is widely spoken. Pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think
you're gonna have a lot more people being like, here's what I think about it.
Exactly. Yeah, you're gonna get more data. You're gonna like, oh, this works for me here. You know, maybe they'll figure out and something will lead the way in Spanish that we never would have thought. You know, as English speakers. So
yeah,
I'm excited for other countries to start, you know, using this and, you know, showing us what else it can do that we may not have thought of.
Me too. Apple Intelligence, if you have ideas about whether it's great, has it changed your life? Because, I mean, it's changed somebody's life. I know you're out there. Yeah. Or if you're like, no, it sucks. Or, you know, this is what I want. This is what Apple, you know, I'm still waiting for that. Send it our way, feedback@applevisionshow.com. And real quick before we take a break, Eileen, did you ever used to use Twitterrific, the third-party Twitter app?
I did.
Same. So Twitterrific was one of the first, if not the first, at least app that got a lot of attention. So third-party app was not made by, it was Twitter at the time. It was made by a company called The Icon Factory, pretty well known as far as apps go. And the Icon Factory has a new app called Tapestry. It's not really about, resurrecting Twitter, although you could think of it that way just because people post lots of social media things on other places. But it's designed to really be like a I called this a Flipboard alternative the other day, and someone was like, well, it's not really an iPad app. And I'm like, well, it is available on iPad OS or iOS. That's it. So it is restricted in that way. But you can pull your Blue Sky feed, Mastodon feed, any RSS feed. So, if you follow a certain news publication and you want to pull their RSS feed into it, can do. YouTube feeds. A lot of people, we know you're out there, are like, most of my content I consume through YouTube. That would be a place that you could, organize your feeds. And it's all kind of on one timeline. Now, again, this is mobile only, right? So it's iOS and iPad OS. It started as a Kickstarter project and got a lot of attention. So it's a real thing. Subscription options do allow you to remove ads because you'll see ads otherwise. This is not unlike subscribing to that news source that you were going to do, without the RSS feed anyway. But you've got like a $2 a month subscription, $20 a year, or if you want to go ham, $80 one-time purchase and you're in. I mean, as long as the app remains alive. But I'm into this. I am into this.
Okay.
I don't know that I'm the target audience because I'm just so used to going to separate places for separate things. But some people, I think, like the idea of, wow, what if I just went to my one app and everything was there? And I didn't have to hunt and peck and, bounce out of an app and get into another one and forget my password and, all that stuff.
Yeah, as you were talking, I just downloaded it and I'm trying to install it right now on my iPad. One, I was looking at the list of things that, it will kind of collate into this one app. The one app I always forget about is Blue Sky, and I want to use that more. And I'm like, oh, maybe if I put this together with X and let me see. And now that, I'm understanding, oh, YouTube is on here. I'm going to try this out because, mostly because there's just a couple of apps that I just forget about that I want to check in on. Like you, I just go individually, right? But maybe this will help me remember those other apps that I forget about. That's kind of what I'm thinking at this point.
Yeah. Sorry.
You okay?
Went down the wrong pipe. I agree with you. I had to cough. That's how much I agreed with you. But yes, I would like to know if anyone's using Tapestry, as it's called. Because again, you can try it out for free, but I think you're going to get more out of it if you're paying in one of their payment tiers. And it feels throwbacky to me. It feels like, oh, okay, this is that aggregator that maybe we should have had the whole time. But back in the day, well, there've always been other ways to be social on the internet besides, Twitter and Facebook. But that was kind of those were your big options. And now there's so many more. So I like the reinvention, or at least, trying to reinvent how we consume stuff, how we share, how we lurk, and what we all do anyway. So yeah, if you have thoughts on this, please do send it our way. feedback@applevisionshow.com. All right, let's take a quick break and then we'll come back and talk TV. All right, Eileen, let's talk default apps.
Yes. I was curious. As we were talking about invites earlier, I was thinking about it and I'm like, all right, well, this, they talked a lot about it, invites connecting to a lot of the other native apps, and perhaps it'll connect even more. And we've talked about, calendar and reminders together, whatever. What are the apps that native apps that you rely on, or that you use the most, that you're like, I'm not going to use the alt version, like Safari or Chrome, like that? Do you mainly use Apple native apps because, like you said before, you were ingrained in the Apple ecosystem? Just curious, because I probably have a different answer than you. but we'll see.
Yeah. So I've weirdly, so every time I get a new iPhone, which was, again, it was just over a year ago that I got my latest iPhone, and I always back up from the previous iPhone because I'm just like, if I have to delete stuff later, I will, but I don't want to miss anything. I don't really feel the same way about desktop or even laptops, weirdly. But there's something about the mobile experience where I'm just like, I want every single photo I've ever taken to just transfer over, and then we'll deal with it later. You know, iCloud backup, thank you. That's what I pay for. So in that vein, I feel like when I am, you know, basically when I get the new phone, I'm like, all right, my home screen looks like what it looked like before. I just have a new, you know, just a new piece of hardware, and then I can kind of finesse a little bit. But yeah, so I don't really, for that reason, I am carrying, I think like 300 apps on my phone right now.
Yeah.
I know that sounds insane.
I don't think it is.
But and I am telling you, it's sort of like when you move and you just like throw away all the like weird cables that you don't use anymore, and you're like, why did I even have a box of these in my closet? But somehow like you like amass more, and you never really get rid of like the weird stuff. That's how I feel about my iPhone. Where people every so often, it doesn't happen that often, but somebody will like have to use my phone for some reason, and they're like, why do you have like 17 pages of apps? Like, what are these apps? And I'm like, I have a reason. But do I? Yeah. Like, when's the last time I opened that up? For that reason, I do the, you know, pull down search for everything.
Right.
So I don't really, you mentioned like Safari versus Chrome. It used to be that I had a Chrome, icon, you know, down in my, you know, my cool bar on the home screen. I don't have that anymore. I'm just sort of like, I just search and I find it somewhere. I don't even really know what app I'm using half the time for that. And some of the apps that I use the most, like for example, Uber Eats, not on my home screen. I don't know what page that's on, but I know what it's called. So I just, you know, again, search, there it is. Couldn't tell you what page it's on. Now, you know, someday I could, you know, really lean into this on a Saturday afternoon and make it make sense. But I'm like, I don't know. All these apps just, they don't bother me. They're just hanging out.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think, you know, I have a ton of apps too, and I'm just noticing there's a ton of apps since I got the new iPhone, late last year that I haven't actually downloaded. Like the icon's there, but the iCloud is like you still need to download it if you like it just transferred on my phone, but I never actually downloaded it. It was crazy. I have a lot of those. The native apps that I use kind of on the reg, I feel like, you know, well, Notes is one I can't live without. I love Notes. And
Same.
Notes and, oh gosh, let's see here. I don't, like I said earlier, I don't use iCal. I have it and it syncs, but I really rely on Google Calendar. So I haven't made that switch. Mail, I do use Mail. On the native Mail app. I know there's so many other, you know, apps that you could use, or just, you know, the Gmail app or whatever, but I use Mail. Photos is another one that, you know, I'm definitely using the native. And Messenger, I definitely use Messenger. You know, I don't use like another third party or I mean, I have WhatsApp, but that's just for like some groups that I'm a part of. But Safari versus Chrome, I definitely use Chrome, not Safari, even though the default browser is Safari on my iPhone. It's just it's just weird, some of the like, you know, habits that I have and some things that I don't want to, you know, kind of lose. Yeah.
Well, and I realized at one point you couldn't do anything about that. You know, now you can.
Yeah.
If you care. I don't know. When I'm on mobile, I'm sort of like, I don't know, just like give me
you just
the
whatever.
answer.
Yeah.
I don't really care what I'm using.
Yeah. Yeah, but do you think you use percentage wise mostly like I don't use Apple Maps as much as Google Maps, but sometimes I will use Apple Maps because I just kind of want to know what it's doing, comparatively. Stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm definitely more of an Apple Maps person, mostly because that's in CarPlay. Not that you can't use Google Maps in CarPlay, because you can. And that's an option. But when I'm just sort of like, hey, Siri, we're doing this, it defaults to Apple Maps. And so I've gotten used to it, and Apple Maps has gotten a lot better. Just the other day, I was like, because Google Street View and Apple, they don't call it Street View, but it's like their goggles version of Street View. I'm sometimes fascinated where I will just go to like a random corner and I'm like, let's compare them. Like, who was here most recently? Because you can kind of tell by like, are there leaves on the trees? Like, you can tell who has the newest version. Like, who did the car newest? I went by my own house and I was like, Google Maps wins by a mile. Like, I didn't even live here when Apple Maps recently photographed the front of my building. So but yes, I think the Apple Maps thing is it's come a long way. It's come a long way. But they're still neck and neck. And for a lot of people, well, first of all, Google Maps Street View is like globally, I mean, they don't have every single street in the world, but I mean, it is, you can look at a lot of places in the world. Apple Maps has a long way to go. And I would like them to catch up. But it's nice to compare the two, especially in an urban area like Los Angeles, where you and I both live. When I was looking for apartments just over a year ago, I was comparing the street views from the two, and sometimes I'm like, ooh, Apple Maps was there recently. Oh, it looks kind of cool. Look at the cherry blossoms kind of thing.
One more app that I use on the reg is the news app. And I know that, it's better if you have a subscription or whatever, but like, I was so sad when I gave up my Epicurious subscription. And then I realized it's an Apple News. I can get the subscription because I have the subscription to Apple News, and I don't have to lose Bon Appetit and Epicurious after all. I'm like, oh, why did I need to, I'm like, great. I'm glad I stopped that subscription, but I didn't know this. That was bad on me. Like, I should have known this, and I shouldn't have been paying like the $2.99 a month that I had been paying. And I'm like, oh, it's already on here. There's so many things, so many like subscriptions that I had, and magazines. I'm like, I don't need those. I got them. I could get Elle magazine, Vanity. I'm like, everything is here.
Everything
and I like
here.
looking at them.
I was a little late to the game on Apple News Plus, to be honest. I knew that the app exists, but I was sort of like, And people kept sending me like, hey, you should look at this article kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, it's an Apple News. Like, I don't know. It's paywalled. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Not unlike Apple Music. Like, hey, you should listen to this thing that I sent to you. If you have an account, it's seamless. If you don't have an account, then you're like, oh, how do I see? What's the original link? Oh, paywall, that kind of thing. So, I'm with you on that. I was resistant for some time because I'm like, I don't know, I can like hunt down the news just on my own like a wolf. But now I'm like, oh my gosh, Apple News Plus, I couldn't live without it.
Please give it to me. It's so easy.
And it's not even, it's largely for work, but it's also just like you said, it's like Epicurious, Elle magazine, Rolling Stone, just stuff where I'm like, I'm not going to pay for all these magazines. And frankly, I don't actually want dead tree versions of them on my 100%. Coffee table. So
I'm the same.
So it just works out nicely, and you can pick and choose because you're paying the same thing. It's like, do you want to read a lot this month, or do you want to read just like a couple articles? It's up to you. Yeah,
and you get it all bundled. So I love News Plus. This thing, I use it all. I go to it a lot these days, more so than even last year. So thank you, Apple. I love it. Yeah, it's definitely working for me. W Scottis 1 says, I use the music and podcasts app, although I do tend to watch most of my video podcasts on YouTube. Sometimes if I want to doom scroll, I'll look at Apple News, but I don't use it for doom scrolling. I use it for magazines. But I mostly have YouTube channels. Yeah.
Doom scrolling is, it's hard to get away from.
It's hard to get away. I know, especially when you open the app, it goes straight to Today or News Plus, and you see things. I'm like, ugh, so I'm gonna try to get out of that quickly. Anyway, mostly have YouTube channels that cover the news so that I don't have to look at it. So we already covered music. And a podcast app, I do use the Apple Podcast app. I do. Like, yes, you can get podcasts on Spotify, and I may subscribe to some on Spotify, but the podcast app I think is plenty sufficient for me. I know other people need more bells and whistles, but I just, listening and finding, that works for me.
I agree. I definitely agree. We've got our default apps, we've got our routines, and as we always say on the show, we want to hear more about yours. Feedback at applevisionshow.com. All right, before we get out of here, Eileen, we as promised, we always talk about a little TV. I am loving the new season of Severance, to the point where I watched the first episode. So this is season 2. Mm-hmm. I watched season 2, episode 1 like 3 times.
3 times? Oh, wow.
Well, so full disclosure, first time it was late and I was like, I think I missed some details. Yeah, I might have rested my eyes a little bit too long, and then I opened them and I'm like, what's happening? Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, no, the twists and turns have really started happening. We had one thing, season 1, and no spoilers, not going to spoil anything for anybody who's not caught up yet, but season 2 is like, oh, okay. Yeah. We've got, some protagonists and some villains that we did not realize were the deal before. It's great. Yeah. Love the show.
You just made me feel better, because I was tired during the week of episode 2, and I did fall asleep, I think, in the last 20 minutes. So I need to rewatch that, even though I already watched episode 3. I was like, I should probably go back to 2, because I know there's details I missed there.
Yes,
this show, you got to pay attention. I was just so exhausted, and for whatever reason, Severance is one of those shows that makes me, it's intense, but I somehow relax while watching it. And
it's sort of meditative.
I don't understand.
Yes,
it is.
I know.
The tone of the show makes me go, okay. But then
there's something about for anybody, and again, not spoiling anything, but for anybody who hasn't seen it at all, it's like, it's based in this sort of, I guess fictional. It's not really even said where it is, but it's winter. The cars are kind of old, but it seems modern. But there, snow on the ground, and you don't have it has a very a vibe almost of like being like, I want to be cozy inside. That's how I feel. And so when I watch it after 10 p.m., I'm like,
exactly.
I'm lucky if I get through 30 minutes of this.
100%. And that was what happened to me in episode 2. And then I was like, the show ended, and Tom was like, yeah, you were snoring a little bit. Man.
I have been accused of the same. Like you were not watching, and I was like, who's that? And they're like, you were not awake. You should just watch it again.
It's a great show. Please don't make our conversation indicative of
really
that
is.
It's boring. It's a great show. You just cannot watch it if you've had a long day and you're tired. Go to sleep and come back to it when you're alert, because
it's one of those shows where and lots of shows are like this, but you look away for 2 seconds and you're like, wait, who's that?
What just happened? Exactly.
Yeah, what did he say? That kind of thing. Otherwise, you look up from your iPad and you're like, I don't even know where we are.
I don't even know who is this and why did this happen?
Yeah,
and
why is she mean now?
Why are they here? Like every moment and second actually counts on that show, because there's just something.
Indeed. Yeah. I mean, Severance, only one of many Apple TV Plus offerings, but it's getting some really good reviews. This is my show. This is my jam. This is my new Ted Lasso. It really is. Even though they're could not be
totally
more different. Yeah, could not be more different, but just lovable. Lovable show.
Yay, let us know if you're watching. Keep up with us.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, Eileen, this was fun. We're recording this on Wednesday, February 5th. So thanks to everyone hanging in with us, because we used to record regularly on Mondays. Right after DTNS Live wrapped up at, right around 2:30 Pacific time. And we've moved our show to Tuesdays. Just kind of makes more sense for us calendar-wise. Although today is a Wednesday. We know this. So we're getting back into the groove. Getting back into the groove after, sort of a long holiday weekend. Holiday weekend. What am I even saying? Holiday month. And just a variety of reasons that we've all been, scrambling to get back into order. So for those of you watching live, the drill. But for those of you listening after the fact and you'd like to listen or watch live, our regular schedule is going to go back to those Tuesdays, 2:30 p.m. thereabouts, on the live feed after DTNS. Yay! All right. Well, I think, Eileen, we're going to put a fork in us because we're done.
Let's do it. We're done. It's like kind of slow, Apple News time until, another product drops and stuff like that. But I'm glad that they had invites and stuff like that to, keep us thinking about the ecosystem and whatnot. I actually finally upgraded my, I forced to upgrade my, my Mac to the latest Sequoia. And so now I'm getting all these like Apple Intelligence is here. I'm like, yeah, I know I have it on my phone, but okay, let's see how it works, and photos. It's giving me all these prompts of stuff that I already know from my iPad and, my phone, but here we go. How does it affect my Mac? I'm going to figure that out. Cause I just did this the other day and I literally like opened up has that tips, here, look at the tips. And I'm looking at the tips. I'm like, okay, this is all the same. All right. Well, let's see how it affects my usage of my laptop if I use any of it at all. So
totally get that. Yeah. I mean, everything as far as summaries, I've just had to go, cause I'm like,
oh, you turned it off, didn't you? Yeah.
Can't I just say like one button, like turn off for everything? No. Maybe there's something that I'm missing, but no, it's like messages, turn off. Emails, turn off. Oh, you have a different email address, you have to turn off. I'm in settings constantly trying to just turn all the stuff off. It just doesn't work for me. Calendar, same. But again, we're all different, and variety is the spice of life.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap up this episode 47 of Apple Vision Show. Thanks for being with us, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, I was just looking at mail. Mail hasn't really changed. Mail hasn't changed like it has on, right? Or am I not updated? Like it doesn't do the prioritizations on the Mac that it does on the phone. Am I wrong on that?
No, it does. I mean, I don't know if they're exactly the same. They should be, because they should be synced. But
okay. I don't have the same how they have the new prioritizations like promotions, updates, transactions. I don't see that on my desktop. So
huh.
Yeah, maybe I need to do something.
I don't have it
in the
either.
mail app. Oh, okay.
Nope.
So, but you do.
It's just the same, the VIPs flagged and
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought we would see that, but okay.
Well, I mean, okay. That would assume that Apple is going to update the Mail app on Mac OS, which is
that's what I thought it was happening already. But
that's a deep assumption considering they haven't updated this app in like 8 years. It's the functional app that they're never going to touch.
Well, I mean, it is updated on the phone though. So that's why I'm like, can't you just, I mean, it was the same way with photos, like when photos updated on mobile and then it was like, well, what about, what about the desktop that I use a lot?
Right.
So, okay. Well, Mac OS, let's go. Come on. Update yourselves.
Let's do it, Mac OS.
Come on, Mac OS. Because I'm used to looking at, I guess this is me where I look at mobile more than I look at Mac OS, right? So I'm like, oh, why is it still the same one?
And I'm
as
the
before?
total opposite, where I'm like,
Yeah.
I had a house guest the other night, and they were like, do you have a USB-C or Lightning cord in your bedroom? And I was like, neither. And they're like, you don't have your iPhone by the bed? And I'm like, no. Because by the time I go to bed, I'm just like, it's sleepy time. It's not that like I'm wearing my watch. I'm not going to miss anything important. But like, they were like, that's great. Like, why would you not do? I'm like, you know how many cords I have all over my house to charge my various things? Like, I just wake up and that's when I charge things.
I mean,
I don't
honestly,
know.
Sarah,
it was a funny conversation about just like how behavior works. I don't want an iPhone or a computer for that matter in my bedroom. I have a television, so I'm not, going to pretend that I'm just like, reading the Bible every night. But yeah, I'm like, no, that stuff just stays in the office and I'll get it in the morning.
Well, health and wellness experts say don't do what most of us do. They say you should do what Sarah does and don't, immediately, this is doom scrolling. Like I do have my phone next to, and I have a magnetic stand that's a charger as well. So I'm able to be like, go to bed. Okay, good night. And then first thing in the morning, grab my phone. That's for more mental balance. Health and wellness experts say you should be more like Sarah. So just don't have it in the bedroom.
I know folks who are like, I have decided, that, the iPhone or whatever, smartphone. I'm not trying to make it Apple specific, but like my little mobile device does not come into the bedroom with me. Door closes. I'll get it in the morning. Mm-hmm. It's not even like, if my phone was next to me and charged overnight, and I couldn't sleep, I'm not picking that phone up. Because I'm like, as soon as I do that, now I'm really awake. And I want to go back to sleep. It's like, the bedroom is sleepy time. For an emergency, you can get a hold of me. You can, if you're one of, 5 people, maybe 10, if I'm really thinking about it. But otherwise, like, I don't want it. I want to sleep.
I do not like
more
using
healthy
my phone in bed
than the rest of us.
I try not to. However, I have kids, and therefore my phone will never be more than arm length away from me, or a means to answer my phone.
Totally. I mean, yeah. And I'm not trying to be like, nobody should bring the phone into their bedroom.
You'd be like,
not at all.
If Otis was out running the streets at 2:00 in the morning, you'd have your phone next to your bed, but he's not. My kids are.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, let's hope. Sometimes I wonder. But yes, I totally get that. I'm believe me, I'm not sort of like holier than thou, everybody. Right. I just feel like when I get into bed, I'm just like, all right, bye world. See you in 6 to 7 hours if I'm lucky.
This also comes from the person that doesn't want to have a TV in their bedroom, but unfortunately, I do want to have my wife in my bedroom, and my wife insists on having a TV in the bedroom. So, therefore, I have a TV in my bedroom.
I mean, we're also, there was a time where, for many years I didn't have a TV in my bedroom. Now I do, just 'cause I had an extra one. I'm like, why not? Put it on. Why not? But back in the day, for maybe 5 years, I would put on something low volume, and I would just leave it on all night. And that I slept better that way than I did if the TV was off. And that's like some, flickering and lights like on a big old CRT, and some audio, and people were like, all like, what, really? And I'm like, I don't know. It's soothing. We go through phases, I think, of like what makes you feel comfy. And it's not the same, one size does not fit all.
Yeah. This is just a small thing, but I found, and not that I even really look at it when I wake up in the morning, but I found when I turn it horizontal, I can't do it right now, and it turns into the clock. I kind of like having that on the nightstand is like my actual, like I 2-in-1. I get the phone and I get a clock.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. I really like that. That's why I keep it next to me. I'm like, I want to see it change. Oh, look at that. I like that. I don't know. It's silly, but it's a nice feature instead of, because I grew up having a digital clock, in my bedroom, and now I can just have my iPhone and it does that. So I think it's kind of cool that it does that.
I know for those of us who have Apple Watches, a lot of people are like, I'm not wearing that thing overnight. I used to feel the same way. I don't care anymore. In fact, if I don't have it overnight, I kind of am like, what time is it? But once I take my contacts out, it's like, it's a good night if I can even see what time it is. But I have Do Not Disturb on from 10:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. Even though sometimes I'm up after 10:30 or, on like a really good day, maybe I sleep till 7 type thing. But for the most part, it's like those are my asleep hours. Where it's like I don't need, unless it's an emergency and some people can get through. That's it's not going to be like buzzing and being like, hey, you're supposed to stand. But I've gotten so good at where like I'm still asleep and I'm like so comfy. It's warm and dark, and I feel like the tap tap from the Apple Watch, and I'm like, it's 6:50. I know it is. Because it knows that I should have stood, and I haven't, and now I have 10 minutes to do that to get my stand goal. And it's like I'm like, all right,
I gotta get up and get my stand goal.
Yeah, no, it works.
It works.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, I got a boogie.
Me too. This was fun.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks everybody for being with us.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. I got the suggested titles here. Okay. There's only 2, but that's fine. But yeah.
More titles.
Thanks, Avi.
Titles.
Should we say goodbye to the masses? Goodbye.
Yeah. Goodbye.